There is a certain kind of weight that does not come and go with the rising and setting of the sun. It is not the passing thought that drifts in with the morning breeze and vanishes with the afternoon's activity. No, this is a different kind of visitor. This is the guest that arrives without knocking and, more than that, refuses to leave when you show it the door. It is the question that repeats itself in the quiet hours, the concern that shadows your steps no matter how fast you move, the knot that refuses to be untied no matter how much you pull at the threads. You have tried to reason with it. You have laid out your plans, calculated every variable, and searched for the exit. Yet, the problem remains. It follows you into the night and greets you the moment your eyes open. It sits at your table and walks beside you on your path. And in the exhausting pursuit to make it disappear, you begin to ask the most human of all questions: why? Why is this thing still here? Why does it not yield? Why does it not break? But consider this for a moment. Consider a sculptor who works tirelessly on a piece of stone. Does the sculptor stop because the stone resists the chisel? Or does he persist because he sees a form within the rock that you cannot yet see? What if the resistance you feel is not a sign that you have been abandoned, but proof that you are still being worked on? Look closely at the problem that haunts you. See it not as a chain meant to bind you, but as a scale meant to weigh you. It is a test of your conviction, a measure of your trust. This persistent force in your life has been allowed to stay because your soul is capable of carrying it. You have been given a burden, not because you are weak, but because your shoulders are being readied for a weight far greater. When the storm does not cease, it is not a sign that the sky is blind. When the ground shakes, it is not a sign that the earth has forgotten how to hold you. It is a sign that you are being recalibrated. The silence you hear is not empty, it is filled with strategy. The delay you feel is not a denial, it is a preparation. So, breathe. Let the problem be. Let it sit where it is. Your task is not to remove it with your own hands, your task is to rise until it can no longer reach you. Stop trying to silence the noise and instead, strengthen the signal. The problem is not here to destroy you, it is here to define you. The weight of the unresolved is unlike any other burden you will carry in this life. It is not the sharp, sudden pain of a fresh wound that demands immediate attention, nor is it the dull ache of a passing exhaustion that fades with rest. No, this is a different creature entirely. This is the presence that does not announce itself with a bang, but rather seeps into the quiet corners of your existence like a slow, creeping tide. It is the thought that waits for you at the edge of sleep, the whisper that grows louder in the moments when the world falls silent and you are left alone with nothing but your own breathing. This problem, this persistent weight, does not arrive and depart with the rhythm of daily life. It is not swept away by the distractions of work or the company of others. It lingers. It shadows you through your meals, your conversations, your moments of laughter, and even your prayers. And in its lingering, it becomes something more than a mere issue to be solved. It becomes a companion, unwelcome yet undeniable, a specter that walks beside you and refuses to be exorcised by your frantic efforts. You have tried to outrun it, have you not? You have filled your days with noise and motion, hoping that speed would leave it behind. Yet, when you pause to catch your breath, there it stands, patient and unmoved, as if it had been waiting for you all along. You have tried to reason it away, dissecting its every angle, searching for the flaw in its logic, the crack in its armor, only to find that your intellect, sharp as it may be, cannot cut through its density. You have even tried to accept it, to make peace with its presence, believing that if you simply stop resisting, it would lose its power over you. But acceptance does not always bring release, and resignation is not the same as relief. The problem remains, stubborn and unyielding, a fixed point in the ever-shifting landscape of your days. And this persistence, this refusal to be resolved, is what makes it so heavy. It is not the size of the problem that crushes you, it is the duration. It is the weariness of waking up each morning to find that nothing has changed, that the same knot is still tangled, the same wall still stands, the same question still echoes without an answer. Yet, consider the possibility that this weight is not a punishment but a purpose. The unresolved nature of your trial is not a sign that you have been forgotten or that your efforts are in vain. It is a sign that something is being built within you that cannot be constructed in a day. The persistent problem is like the constant pressure that turns coal into diamond, the unrelenting heat that forges steel from iron. It stays because you are not yet finished, because the shape of your character is still being formed, and the chisel of difficulty must strike again and again until the rough edges are smoothed away. The weight that will not let you go is the very thing that is keeping you grounded, keeping you aware, keeping you from drifting into the shallows of a life unexamined. It forces you to look inward, to question your assumptions, to reach for something greater than your own understanding. And in that reaching, you discover muscles you did not know you had, depths you did not know existed. So, let the weight stay for now. Let it press upon you, not to break you, but to remind you that you are alive, that you are being shaped, and that the one who allows the weight to remain is the same one who measures exactly how much you can bear. The unresolved is not your enemy, it is your teacher, and it will release its hold only when you have learned what it came to teach. The illusion of control is perhaps the most seductive trap laid before the human soul. From the moment you wake until the moment you rest your head, you are engaged in a relentless campaign to manage, direct, and orchestrate the world around you. You create plans, you set timelines, you calculate probabilities, and you convince yourself that with enough effort, enough intelligence, enough sheer willpower, every variable can be anticipated and every outcome can be secured. This is not a flaw, it is part of your design, this drive to impose order upon chaos, to build shelters against the unknown. Yet, when the problem that will not let you go arrives, it exposes the fragile foundation upon which this entire edifice of control is built. You approach this persistent trial as you would any other obstacle, rolling up your sleeves and preparing to dismantle it piece by piece. You apply every strategy that has worked in the past, every formula that has brought you success, every logical sequence that has previously unlocked doors. And then, slowly, painfully, you begin to realize that this problem does not respond to your methods. It does not yield to your timelines, it does not bow to your intelligence, and it certainly does not shrink before your determination. The more you push, the more it resists. The more you scheme, the more it eludes you. And in this frustrating, exhausting exchange, you are confronted with a humbling truth: you were never really in control to begin with. What you called control was merely a comfortable arrangement, a temporary alignment of circumstances that allowed you to believe in your own sovereignty. But this persistent problem has been sent to shatter that illusion, to strip away the pretense of self-sufficiency and reveal the raw, unvarnished reality of your dependence. You see, the problem will not let you go precisely because it is designed to outlast your efforts. It is not a lock that you can pick, not a puzzle you can solve, not a door you can break down. It is a wall, and your hands are not meant to tear it apart. Your frantic searching for a manual solution, your desperate attempts to find the right combination of actions, your sleepless nights spent trying to engineer an escape, all of this is the very thing that keeps you trapped. You are like a bird beating its wings against the bars of a cage, exhausting itself in the belief that more force will lead to freedom, when in truth, the door was never locked from the outside. The problem persists because you are looking in the wrong direction. You are looking outward, scanning the horizon for a fix, when the solution has always been about looking upward, about releasing your grip on the wheel and allowing yourself to be carried. This is the great reversal that the persistent problem demands. It forces you to confront your limitations, not as a sign of failure, but as a gateway to something far greater than your own capacity. The moment you accept that you cannot fix this with your own hands, that you cannot reason your way out with your own mind, that you cannot force a resolution with your own strength, is the moment the burden begins to shift. Your control was never the answer, it was the obstacle. The problem stays because it is teaching you to let go, to stop fighting the current and instead learn to float, to stop demanding answers and instead learn to trust the silence, to stop trying to move the mountain and instead learn to climb it with the help of the one who placed it there. The illusion of control is a heavy garment, and the persistent problem is the tailor who gently, persistently, loosens its hold upon you, until you stand before your Lord with empty hands and an open heart, finally ready to receive what you could never have achieved on your own. The unseen workshop is a concept that transforms the way you perceive the trials that refuse to release their grip upon you. When you look at your persistent problem through the lens of ordinary vision, you see only difficulty, only obstruction, only a barrier standing between you and the life you imagine you deserve. But when you shift your gaze, when you peer beyond the surface of your circumstances, you begin to recognize that this stubborn problem is not a random misfortune or a cruel twist of fate. It is a workshop, a forge, a carefully designed space where something is being constructed within you that could not be built in times of ease and comfort. Consider the blacksmith who works with iron, heating it again and again, striking it with relentless precision, plunging it into water until it hisses and steams. To the iron, this process must feel like unrelenting torment, an endless cycle of heat and hammer and cold that seems to have no purpose but to cause pain. Yet the blacksmith sees what the iron cannot see. He sees the blade that will one day cut through darkness, the tool that will shape the world, the instrument that will serve a purpose far greater than its own existence. Your persistent problem is the heat of that forge, the hammer of that blacksmith, and you are the iron being shaped for a purpose you cannot yet comprehend. The problem will not let you go because the workshop is not finished with you. Every day that this trial remains, every hour that it presses upon your chest, is another hour of shaping, another strike of the hammer against your resistance, another immersion in the waters of patience that temper your soul. You may look at others and wonder why their lives seem smoother, why their paths appear clearer, why their burdens appear lighter. But you do not see what is being built within them, nor do you see the glory of what is being built within you. The unseen workshop operates in silence, away from the eyes of the world, in the private chamber of your heart where only you and your Creator bear witness to the transformation. This is not a punishment, it is a privilege, a sign that you have been chosen for a work of great significance. The raw material of your character, your faith, your resilience, is being refined through the persistent pressure of this problem. Every sleepless night is a lesson in trust. Every failed attempt is a lesson in humility. Every moment of despair is a lesson in hope. The workshop does not waste a single strike, does not apply a single degree of heat that is not precisely measured for your benefit. And here is the secret that the workshop reveals: the problem itself is not the final product. The problem is the tool, the chisel, the fire, the hammer. It is the means by which you are being transformed from a rough stone into a polished gem, from a lump of clay into a vessel of honor. The persistent nature of your trial is not evidence of its permanence, but evidence of its purpose. It remains because the work is deep, because the change required is profound, because the person you are becoming cannot be rushed into existence. The workshop is patient because it knows that the finest creations take time, that the deepest foundations take the longest to lay, that the strongest trees grow slowly through seasons of storm and drought. So when the problem refuses to leave, when it continues to press upon you day after day, remember that you are not trapped in a prison, you are resting on an anvil. You are not being destroyed, you are being constructed. And the one who holds the hammer knows exactly what he is making, and he will not stop until you are ready to shine. The shift in perspective is the single most transformative act you can undertake when faced with a problem that refuses to release its hold upon you. For so long, you have been fixated on the problem itself, staring at it from every angle, measuring its dimensions, cataloging its effects, and exhausting yourself in the process of trying to understand why it exists and how to make it vanish. But what if the entire purpose of this persistent trial is not to change the problem, but to change you? What if the problem is merely a mirror, held up to your soul, reflecting back to you the state of your heart, the depth of your trust, the strength of your conviction? You have been asking the wrong question all along. You have been asking, how do I remove this problem, when the question you should be asking is, what is this problem revealing about me? The shift in perspective is a radical reorientation, a turning away from the external circumstance and a turning inward toward the self that is being shaped by that circumstance. It is the recognition that the problem is not the enemy, your reaction to the problem is the battlefield. The persistent nature of your trial is not a sign that the universe is against you, but a sign that your soul is being tested, weighed, and measured against the standard of your own potential. When you shift your perspective, you begin to see that the problem is not a wall blocking your path, but a gatekeeper demanding that you prove your worth before you are allowed to pass through. It is not a punishment for past failures, but a preparation for future responsibilities. The problem stays because you are not yet ready for what lies on the other side of it, not because you are undeserving, but because you are unfinished. And the only way to become finished, the only way to grow into the person capable of carrying what comes next, is to endure the pressure of this present moment. The shift in perspective also frees you from the exhausting illusion that your circumstances must change for you to find peace. You have tied your peace to the resolution of the problem, telling yourself that you will rest when the problem is gone, that you will smile when the burden is lifted, that you will trust when you see the outcome. But the shift in perspective teaches you that peace is not a destination, it is a posture. It is not something that arrives with the solution, it is something that grows within you as you learn to navigate the solutionless moments with grace, patience, and unwavering faith. This is the great secret that the persistent problem is trying to teach you. The elevation is not in the removal of the trial, but in the elevation of the self. The problem is not meant to disappear, it is meant to refine you until you are so high, so strong, so deeply rooted in your convictions, that the problem no longer has the power to disturb you, even if it remains. When you shift your focus from the problem to the process, from the obstacle to the opportunity, from the weight to the wings that weight is building, everything changes. The problem is no longer the center of your universe, you are the center, growing, expanding, rising, while the problem becomes smaller and smaller in your peripheral vision. And the one who placed this problem in your path is the same one who is watching your progress, noting every stumble, every rise, every tear, and every moment of quiet endurance. He is not distant from your struggle, He is nearer to you than your own breath, and he is using this persistent difficulty to draw you closer to him, to strip away everything that is not essential, and to reveal the core of your being, shining and unbreakable. So stop trying to change the problem and begin the work of changing yourself, for when you are transformed, the problem will no longer have the same hold upon you, and you will walk through your days with a lightness that no circumstance can steal. The promise of the dawn is the anchor that holds you steady when the night of your problem stretches on beyond what you thought you could endure. You have been walking through this darkness for what feels like an eternity, counting the hours, measuring the silence, wondering if the sun will ever break through the clouds that have settled so heavily upon your horizon. The problem that will not let you go has consumed your days and haunted your nights, and you have begun to suspect that perhaps this is all there is, that perhaps the darkness has come to stay, that perhaps the dawn you have been promised is nothing more than a dream you invented to comfort yourself in the cold. But the promise of the dawn is not a wish, it is a certainty, a law written into the very fabric of existence, a guarantee that has never been broken since the first morning broke upon the first day. The night is real, and it is deep, and it is painful, but it is not eternal. The dawn is not a possibility, it is an inevitability, and the length of the night is not a sign that the dawn will not come, but a sign that the dawn will be all the more brilliant when it finally arrives. You see, the persistent problem is not a random occurrence, it is a container, a vessel designed to hold a specific measure of darkness so that when the light breaks, it breaks with a force that cannot be ignored. The endurance of the night is directly proportional to the magnitude of the impending light, and every moment you spend in this darkness is a moment that is adding fuel to the fire of the dawn that is about to consume your sky. The problem stays because the dawn is not yet ready, not because the dawn is absent, but because the dawn is gathering its strength, marshaling its forces, preparing to break upon your life with a power that will leave no shadow standing. The silence you are enduring is not empty, it is strategic, filled with the whispered plans of the one who holds the keys to the morning. He does not waste a single second of your darkness, and he does not allow a single tear to fall without purpose. Every moment of this trial is being woven into a tapestry of deliverance that will leave you breathless when you finally see the full picture. And here is the truth that will carry you through the longest night. The dawn always comes, not because you deserve it, not because you have earned it, but because it is the nature of light to overcome darkness, and the nature of the one who created light to never leave his creation in the dark. The promise of the dawn is not conditional upon your performance, it is rooted in the character of the one who made the promise, and he is not a being who forgets his word or fails to keep his covenant. He sees you in this darkness, he hears you in this silence, he measures every tear and counts every sigh, and he has already set the hour of your deliverance in a book that cannot be altered. The problem that will not let you go is not a sign that you have been forsaken, it is a sign that you are being prepared for a morning so glorious that the memory of this night will seem like a distant dream. The longer the night, the more brilliant the dawn. The heavier the burden, the sweeter the relief. The deeper the struggle, the greater the victory. So hold on, not with your own strength, but with the strength of the one who holds the morning in his hands. The dawn is coming, and when it breaks, it will break with a force that will shatter every chain, scatter every shadow, and reveal the beauty that was being forged in the darkness all along, and you will look back at this night and marvel at how far you have come, how much you have grown, and how the problem that would not let you go ultimately became the very thing that carried you into the light.